The sound arrived before the feeling. A sharp bell cutting through a quiet corridor, bouncing off polished floors, and suddenly every stomach seemed to tighten at once. You remember it, even now. Not fear exactly, but anticipation, uncertainty, a sense that something was about to be asked of you. Back then, ordinary sounds carried extraordinary weight. A bell could change the mood of an entire room in a second. Most people remember the lessons, the books, the desks, but few remember how moments like this actually felt, how childhood seemed to hold its breath, waiting to see what came next. By the 1960s, a British school day moved with the precision of a clock. You lined up in the playground, shoes polished, coats neatly labeled, waiting for a nod to step inside. Once indoors, chalk dust hung faintly in the air. Mixing with the low hum of radiators on winter mornings, everything had its place and its time. Lessons began and ended by the bell, not by curiosity. Desks faced forward, voices stayed low, and expectations were shared without needing to be spoken. There was comfort in that predictability. You knew where to sit, when to stand, when to listen. Yet it also meant that day shaped you, rather than the other way around. Personal feelings rarely interrupted the rhythm. Today's classrooms feel looser, brighter, more expressive, but back then structure was the backbone of learning. It taught patience, attention, and a quiet awareness of rules. Within that steady routine, those small moments of tension carried extra weight, because everything else felt so tightly controlled. For many children, that sense of order felt normal, unquestioned, and lasting until a single sound or request broke the calm, reminding everyone how closely their days were guided by adults and tradition alike. Then, the moments you hoped would pass you by were rarely dramatic. They were quiet, ordinary, and shared by nearly everyone in the room. This is something rarely spoken about now, but most children felt it all the same. You sat still, eyes forward, hoping your name would not be called. When it was, the room seemed to shrink. Silence grew heavier than noise, and suddenly every breath felt loud. It was not about knowledge, but exposure. Then came the walk to the front of the room. Not a punishment, just a few steps that felt far longer than they were. Shoes sounded louder on wooden floors. Faces blurred together, standing there visible to everyone. You learned how quickly confidence could wobble. This moment shaped confidence more than we realized, teaching some to be brave and others to disappear into neat rows of desks. Equally memorable was the slow realization of a forgotten item. A hand slipped into a bag, searching twice, then a third time. The sinking feeling arrived before any words were spoken. Most children felt it, but no one ever named it. You waited, hoping it might not be noticed, knowing it probably would be. Some days felt different from the moment you arrived. Chairs were straight, displays looked perfect, and voices dropped lower than usual. Inspection days and special visitors brought a strange stillness. Even if you did not fully understand why, you sensed importance without explanation, learning early how atmosphere alone could change behavior. Then there were school dinner moments. Smells drifted along corridors, chairs scraped across floors, and long halls echoed with small sounds. You queued carefully, tray in hand, aware that behavior mattered as much as appetite. Back then, even mealtimes carried quiet rules. Taken together, these moments formed an unspoken language of school life. They taught awareness, restraint, and resilience in ways lessons never mentioned. Looking back, it is surprising how much of childhood confidence was shaped not by what we learned, but by how we felt waiting, hoping, and watching. There was a shared understanding among classmates, a silent agreement not to draw attention to another's mistakes. A glance, a small smile, could ease the tension. Today, schools speak openly about feelings, but back then, emotions were managed quietly. You learned by observing others, storing experiences away. Those everyday moments, repeated week after week, became the backdrop of growing up. They faded individually, yet together they left a lasting impression, one that many only recognize now, decades later. In remembering them, we glimpse how childhood was shaped by atmosphere as much as instruction. The ordinary carried weight, and routine carried meaning. These were the moments you hoped would pass you by, yet they stayed, quietly forming the adults we eventually became, ready to face the next memory waiting beyond the classroom door. And with each passing year, those feelings soften into stories, shared slowly, reminding us how powerful small moments once were, in shaping who we are today more than we expected. What those small fears quietly taught us often became clear only much later. They were never shouted or dramatic. They lived in glances, pauses, and the careful way we watched adults for clues. Those everyday anxieties taught us how to read a room, how to sense when something was expected, and how to adapt without being told. There was comfort in knowing others felt it too, even if no one spoke about it. Shared experience created quiet bonds, friendships built on understanding rather than words. Looking back now, it is easier to see how those moments shaped resilience. They taught patience, awareness, and self-control in subtle ways. Today, we name feelings more openly, but back then, learning happened silently. Fear was not something to be announced. It was something to manage. And in managing it, children learned skills that followed them into adult life, shaping how listen, wait, and respond. Would today's children even notice moments like these? Classrooms now are louder, freer, and shaped around expression rather than silence. Pressures still exist, of course, but they arrive in different forms. The quiet, unspoken tensions of the 1960s have largely faded, replaced by new rhythms and expectations. Neither time was better, just different. Yet when we look back, it is often those small, ordinary moments that linger the longest. Some fears fade, but the feelings they leave behind never quite do, and they quietly remind us who we were.